Rare missed layup by Tiffany Hayes. Angel tries to say, ball don't lie, driving the other way, and Martin got a piece of Reese.
In one of the most bizarre basketball games you'll ever see, Kate Martin's block on Angel Reese wasn't just a jaw-dropping highlight, it was a statement. It was a game where anything could happen, and did. From Tiffany Hayes' near-miss layup to Martin sending Reese's shot flying back to the bayou, this was a game packed with unexpected twists. Let's break it down.
So that was the weirdest game of basketball I've ever seen. That was just genuinely the weirdest game of basketball I have seen in my entire life. And it was the Laces against the Rose.
The Laces, undefeated so far in the unrivaled 3-on-3 league, faced off against the Rose, a team that has been anything but predictable. But what happened next? Well, the Rose might be scratching their heads after this one. Lexie Hull, who had been on fire and won the last game for the Rose, made headlines again. But not in the way you'd expect. The Laces came into this game with momentum. They're 3-0.
Better shooting teams here in Miami so far, and two stout defensive clubs. 3-0 Laces, 1-2 Rose, fresh off its first victory of the season.
On both offense and defense. Everyone thought their success would slow down after losing key players like Alyssa Thomas and Jackie Young to injury, but instead, they've been playing better than ever. With standout players like Kate Martin, Kayla McBride, Tiffany Hayes.
This is awfully impressive start. They shoot the ball well, they boast the top scoring defense in Unrivaled.
And Stephanie Dolson holding down the fort. They've shown that it's not about individual stars. This team's chemistry is next level. Their teamwork? Off the charts. They're not just passing the ball, they're reading each other's moves like pros. In their last game, it was McBride who hit the game-winning shot, with both her and Hayes scoring over 20 points each. And get this. Every player on the team is averaging double digits in scoring. They're playing a different game than everyone else now, the Rose. After their first win of the season, they're still struggling. They've got the talent, but they're not quite clicking. Angel Reese.
It's not just a high IQ group, but the Laces came in excellent shape. Andrew Wade's club has collectively played 350 more professional games than any other club at Unrivaled. They have bought in. Up by 6 without Jackie Young, without Alyssa Thomas.
Angel Reese's performance has been under the microscope, with many wondering if she'll step up or if she'll be benched again. With their record at 1-3, the Rose have a lot of work to do if they want to compete with the red-hot Laces. This matchup is more than just a game, it's a battle of styles. The Laces are rolling, while the Rose need to find a way to stop this unstoppable force. The million-dollar question, can they? It seems like the Laces are playing chess while everyone else is still figuring out how to set up the board, and here's the kicker. The Laces have a personal stake in this.
The Rose are now 1-3. The Laces are 4-0. The Laces did not have Alyssa Thomas. Tiffany Hayes, was hurt quite a bit. Steph Dolson fouled out. Kate Martin again still can't hit a shot. And Kayla McBride it is between her and Nafisa Collier for MVP.
Remember the national championship game where Angel Reese's LSU team took down Kate Martin's Iowa squad? Well, Martin hasn't forgotten. She's coming into this game with a chip on her shoulder and a whole lot of pride. But for Martin, it's not just about revenge. It's about playing the game with heart and proving she can compete at the highest level, no matter the format. So, what's next? Will the Rose find a way to rise to the occasion? Or will the Laces continue to show the rest of the league that they're the team to beat? Either way, this season is shaping up to be one you don't want to miss. She thought she was about to...
A lot of people, whether it's coaches, your coach, other coaches, and even players, have pointed to you as an example of why this is a great format for the WNBA offseason. I mean, what does it feel like for you just to know that you're getting your flowers here and people are recognizing your game and how it fits into this format?
Add another highlight to her reel. An easy layup, right? But then came Kate Martin, who had other plans. What happened next could have been straight out of a basketball fairy tale. If that fairy tale had a twist of justice, you could see it coming, Martin charging through, bodying up Reese, and then, boom. Martin didn't just
Well, that's much appreciated, but I don't know, I've always had confidence in myself, of knowing the type of player that I am, but also it's fun because it's 3-on-3 and it's meant to be fun. This is meant to really enjoy the time with your teammates, and like, you don't play with these people in the WNBA season, so it makes it really fun getting to know everybody. And
block the shot. She sent that ball flying like it needed its own flight back to the arena. It wasn't your typical block. This was a statement. It was as if she was saying, "Not today, Angel, not in my house." But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just about playing good defense.
This is just a good push. You see here that he's going to come right through. Martin gets her with the body.
It was personal. It was Martin's way of saying, "Hey, remember me? I'm not the same player you faced before." And you know what? The fans felt it too. One spectator even joked, "Kate almost sent Barbie back to the bayou." Ouch, that block was a game changer, a momentum shifter. The Laces, already dominating, found a whole new gear after that. And Reese? Let's just say she didn't take it too well. The rivalry between her and Martin was palpable all game long, like two alpha wolves circling each other, waiting for the right moment to strike. But this game wasn't just about Martin versus Reese. It was about
For Rose. Good hands by Reese. Martin makes him pay.
the Laces proving they're the team to beat, even with only 4 regular players on the court. The Rose, on the other hand, learned a tough lesson. Never underestimate your opponent. Now, let's talk about Lexie Hull. Just a few games ago, she was the Rose's golden ticket, the player who led them to their first win by dropping 19 points in just 10 minutes. Everyone thought Hull had solidified her spot on the roster, right? Guess again. Despite her standout performance, Hull barely saw the floor in this game. Just 3 minutes of playing time until late in
Martin gave Tolson a look just to sell out the defense.
quarter. 3 minutes. That's like having a sports car in the driveway and choosing to ride a bicycle instead. Why bench your hottest player when you're facing an undefeated team? The Rose's strategy is leaving fans scratching their heads, and it could have cost them the game. Without Hull's firepower, the Rose struggled against the Laces' ironclad defense. And even though her coach, Nola Henry, can't stop singing Hull's praises, saying she finds ways to make...
So lads, Lexie Hull played again today, and I would have thought after the last game that she played, Lexie Hull was going to be, in with a chance of being one of the, not main players, but like in a good rotation spot for the Rose.
Can impact no matter the stat sheet. The lack of playing time is baffling. After all, she was the star of the Rose's only win this season. So, what's the deal? The coach knows Hull's incredible, but doesn't put her on the court when it matters most.
I genuinely thought that Lexie Hull was one of the better players on the floor again today for the Rose. And up until late in the third quarter, she had played 3 minutes. She had played 3 minutes up until late in the third quarter. Like, that's just madness. That's absolute madness, given the circumstances that she had just come back off a 7 or 19 point game, and her team won the game.
If you're a fan of the Rose, you've got to be wondering what exactly is going on in the coaching decisions. It's a head scratcher that's leaving everyone talking. Lexie Hull leads the Rose to their first win, and yet she's warming the bench? Make it make sense. This isn't just confusing, it's downright frustrating for fans. When Hull finally got her chance to play, she was nothing short of electric. It was like she picked up right where she left off, ready to light up the scoreboard. But instead of letting her loose, the Rose kept her on a leash. She was one of the better players for the Rose down the stretch. But the problem? She wasn't on the court when it mattered. What's going on here? Is Hull...
I would have thought that, she would be easily getting her 10 minutes most games and that there'd be no reason why she wouldn't be playing big minutes. But you can see right here, in the end, it looks like she played okay minutes. But up until very late in this game, Lexie Hull was back to warming that bench. She was back to warming that bench.
Secretly the Rose's most valuable asset, hiding in plain sight, or is there something else at play that we're all missing? Let's talk about Angel Reese for a second because things are getting wild. You know how she's been hyping up this season? Well, it's not exactly going according to plan. In fact, this was a horrible game for Reese, and let's be honest here, it's hard to ignore Reese.
Lexie Hull was the best player on the Rose on the only game that they've won this year.
Proclaimed star player who's supposed to lead the charge for the Rose couldn't even finish the game against the Laces. You heard that right. She fouled out in the fourth quarter. And this wasn't the first time she's been sent to the bench for fouls. It's like she's collecting penalties instead of points. You might be thinking, okay, she's playing aggressive, so what's the big deal? Well, the problem is that Reese spent more time on the bench than she did lighting up the scoreboard.
And she was one of the better players for the Rose down the stretch. But the problem was that she wasn't getting on the court down the stretch. Or until the very end.
She came out strong in the first quarter, scoring 4 points in the first 4 minutes. But after that, it was like watching a car run out of gas on the highway. Remember that logo three-pointer Reese was practicing? Let's roll the footage. Yeah, it didn't look quite like that when it counted. It's tough when your self-proclaimed star player is...
But yeah, it is. This was a horrible game of basketball. We just got to be honest here, this was a horrible...
warming the bench instead of taking control on the court. And now, people are starting to take notice. Sports analyst Jason Whitlock didn't hold back when he called Reese the most unskilled basketball player in the history of basketball. Harsh? Maybe. But it's hard to ignore the fact that Reese's fouls and limited impact on the game are louder than any highlight reel. Is Reese feeling the pressure? With all eyes on her, every mistake gets magnified. And right now, those fouls are speaking louder than her plays. Even when she's on the court, it seems like she's looking to hand the ball off to anyone who will take it. Take this play, for example. Reese strips a player on one end, runs down the court with an easy layup ahead, and then instead of taking the shot...
Look, different combinations. How you approach this is different without Alyssa Thomas, but that also gives you a challenge to approach it with.
I liked his confidence.
She passes it to someone behind her. In the first quarter, Reese looked ready to prove herself, scoring and rebounding everywhere on the floor. But as the fouls piled up, you could see her confidence draining. By the third quarter, she had 4 fouls and was playing like she was walking on eggshells.
Angel Reese is the most unskilled basketball player in the history of basketball, in my opinion. She has no skill. She has energy, she has an attitude, she'll rebound you the basketball. Great. Nothing else. She has nothing. She's got self-awareness. She knows that she's not a very good basketball player. That's why she spends so much time half naked and taking pictures and promoting things that have nothing to do with basketball.
Hesitant and unsure, and then, in the fourth quarter, with the game still up for grabs, Reese fouled out. As she walked off the court, you could see the...
And now she knows it to the point that even when she's on the basketball court, she's aware, like, this ain't really my thing. Let me get this hot potato out of my hand and to somebody that knows what they're doing with it as soon as possible. You got to see this clip. This is a 3-on-3 basketball game. Angel Reese strips a player at one end, runs down court with the basketball, 3-4 steps ahead of everybody, has an easy layup, and throws it to the girl behind her.
Frustration written all over her face. This wasn't just a bad game for Reese. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. And while Reese was busy fouling out, the Rose struggled to keep up with the Laces. It was like they were playing with one hand tied behind their back, especially
she don't want that smoke. Steve. She wants nothing to do with having to shoot the basketball. And I give her credit. It's self-aware.
With Hull still stuck on the bench, and this is where it gets even stranger. Hull's minutes drastically dropped, despite being one of the best players on the floor. What's the deal with that? Why wouldn't you keep her in the game when she's clearly one of your most reliable players? It's a tough pill to swallow when the coach, Nola Henry, can't stop praising Hull for making an impact on every level. Yet, when it comes time to play, she's barely getting minutes. It's a total mystery, and it could have cost the Rose the game. So, what does all this mean for Reese, Hull,
Lexie Hull's minutes drastic go down. Like, we genuinely saw that. And to be honest, I don't know what Nola Henry can do, because very clearly Lexie Hull was in the 3 best players today, but it's like, you can't not play the point guard, as people would say.
In the Rose Basketball Club. Is this just another bad game, or is it a sign of bigger problems? One thing's for sure. If Hull is leading you to victory, you better stick with that strategy instead of giving Reese another shot and the final score. The Laces didn't just win a game, they rewrote the playbook. With only 4 players on the roster, they still managed to dominate the court. The Rose, on the other hand, are left scratching their heads. They benched Hull after her stellar performance, and Reese spent more time on the bench than on the court. Talk about a fall from grace. In the end, we saw Hull doing what Hull does best.
We saw Lexie Hull again doing Lexie Hull things. Even though she wasn't shooting the greatest, I still thought her defense, especially when she was full court pressing on like a Kate Martin or a Tiffany Hayes, they didn't do much on her. They really didn't. Like, it is not easy to go past like to get past Lexie Hull. And
even though her shot wasn't on fire, her defense was solid, especially when she was guarding players like Kate Martin or Tiffany Hayes. It's not easy to get past her, but let's be real. This game wasn't just about wins and losses. It was a glimpse into the future of women's basketball. The Laces showed us that teamwork trumps individual stardom. Kate Martin's block on Angel Reese wasn't just a defensive play, it was a statement. So, what's next for these teams? The Laces are riding high, proving they're the team to beat. But the Rose? They've got some serious soul-searching to do. Between Hull's benching and Reese's foul troubles, they're looking less like a team and more like a puzzle with missing pieces. Can the Rose recover? Can the Laces continue to dominate? Let us know in the